Hi, welcome to my channel. This is me, KS. So, victories for the Somali government against terrorist Al-Shabab. So, a lot of international media, many international media are reporting this fantastic news from Somalia and the Somali government's huge achievement, especially Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud and the Prime Minister. So, So Kenya itself deploys more security to its Kenyan border as the Shabab loses grip in Somalia. So more personnel have been taken to parts of northeastern region bordering Kenya, bordering the Somali-Kenyan border, following reports that Al-Shabaab militants are losing grip in the areas they control in Somalia. This follows a sustained offensive from the Somali National Army and the local Somali people, known as Mursley, who have been combating terrorist Al-Shabaab. Officials said the end of President Mohammed Abdullahi Mahmoud, popularly known as Formaggio in Somalia, and ascending to the power of Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud on May the 15th, 2022, boosted confidence that under the new regime, Somali forces can take the fight to Al-Shabaab and militants' doorsteps. So basically, um, in the past 5 years, in the previous government, we had a horrible, evil man known as Formaggio, who was very tribalist, and he didn't care about fighting Al Shabaab or dealing with terrorism. He only cared about trying to enslave and genocide the local Hawiya population, especially the people of Mogadishu and Galmudug and Hirshabelle, especially those people. So we had such an evil man who was somehow, tricked his way into gaining power in Mogadishu. So Kenyan security agents reported that the Somali government is making headway in repulsing the militants from the cities that they had earlier captured. For instance, on December the 6th, 2022, it was widely reported that Runegod, which is 77 kilometers east of Adenabal, was the only main region remaining in Al Shabaab's hands. The government troops appear to have seized all districts in eastern side and are now going to Bul Aqaba district to liberate it from Al Shabaab control. This progress has boosted the morale of the Somali forces in their mission to vanquish Al Shabaab from all territories in Somalia. So, what's really interesting is since President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud came to power, which has been, I think, less than 6 months, he has declared total war on Al Shabaab. And since then, hundreds of Al Shabaabs were being hundreds of Al Shabaab fighters were being killed in a weekly or daily basis in various battles all over Somalia. And the good thing is the Somali army and its local clan militia allies, haven't really sustained any heavy losses, thanks to God. The losses on our side has been very low, but the losses on Al Shabaab side has been huge. So that itself is actually a blessing and a miracle, thanks to God. I think one of the main reasons for that is because we have US and Turkish air support. We have drones which are supporting us. So every time Al Shabaab tried to mobilize for an attack or for a battle, and drone and aerial footage will be able to capture that, and we'll be able to finish them off uh, before they're even able to launch their attack on the Somali troops, clan allies. So it's been absolutely brilliant. There's been fantastic news coming from Somalia, and this Kenyan newspaper known as the Star is also reporting this, and also Kenya and Ethiopia are also preparing themselves to better protect their own borders from Al-Shabab, which is being driven out of Somalia. One of the interesting things is, whilst the Somali government has been making great progress with their local clan militias, we have a few spoilers that were trying to say, why is the Somali government arming local clan militias uh, against Al Shabab? So basically, these people are basically, you know, remnants of Farmage's reign. They are known as CBB, which is, just clan, just clan, just clan supporters of Farmage who don't even live in Mogadishu or these areas. They tend to live in parts of Somaliland and West Ghetto. So they're not even from this region, but they're not happy that Al Shabaab has been defeated in these parts of Somalia. So reports have indicated that Somali government forces, supported by local fighters, entered Aden Abal, which is the main town in the Middle Shabelle region, which has been under the control of the militant group for the past, you know, 10 years or more. This is a clear indication that the Somali government, with support of foreign troops and local fighters, has been able to suppress activities of the militants, especially in rural areas where they usually retreat to after launching an attack. This is very true because um, in the past, before this new campaign, the Somali government was only and operating in major cities and towns within Somalia, whilst Al Shabaab was operating in uh, the countryside. But thanks to President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud's new courageous initiative and effort, he has taken the war to the terrorists to reclaim back the countryside and help liberate the Somali people who live in the countryside and who are oppressed by by the terrorists for such a long time. And frankly, this mission would never have been a success without support from uh, the people, the nomads in the countryside who have in, who have had enough of Al Shabaab. They have seen Al Shabaab to be nothing more than thugs that have nothing to do with religion, but to only enrich themselves. So President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud says his administration will invest in the fight against the militants while calling for assistance from neighboring countries. So Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud is putting everything in supporting the Somali National Army and the locals and the local clan militias to um, liberate the countryside from Al Shabaab. The previous president, whose name is Promotion, he didn't care. He was a evil man. He didn't care about helping the people in the countryside. He actually wanted Al Shabaab to, oppress and stay in power in the countryside because he thought this was in his long term interest. So, you know, but now we have a president who wants to liberate the entire country. So, um, the United States has pledged to work with mission troops to bring about order to the country. So, the US has been such a great help. He's been a key player in the war against Al Shabaab. Basically, one of the most effective uh, units within the Somalis army is a unit known as Danab, which is US trained. So so these troops are very they're highly trained and very effective against Al Shabaab. They're one of the most powerful units within within the Somali army, and interestingly, these troops are trained by the United States. They're very capable, very feared by Al Shabaab. So well done to the United States for creating such a respected force within the Somali National Army, who are very feared by Al Shabaab. So barely a year into power, President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud is walking the talk in a journey to liberate Somalia, which has experienced the worst attacks from militants since the year 2000. So Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud, and he's he's only been in power for less than 6 months, and he's managed to liberate almost all of Iran, all of Middle Shabelle. These are huge regions. These regions, like just the size of them, they're the size of entire small countries. They're very huge. So just less than 6 months, he's managed to liberate Iran, which is a huge region with a massive population. He's managed to liberate Middle Shabelle, which has been a Al-Shabab stronghold for over a decade, and he's on the verge of liberating uh, southern Galmudug. That's going to happen now. Even today, the Somali National Army has liberated many towns and villages in Middle Shabelle. So it's going really well. No one expected that Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud was going to accomplish such a huge task uh, by himself, by just by using the Somali army and the local clan militias. With Hassan Sheikh Mohammed is not he's not even getting Amazon support. He's not getting support from friendly countries such as Uganda, Burundi. No, he's just doing this by himself with the Somali army and air support from the US and Turkey, and local support from the clan militias who know the ground very well. So Hassan Sheikh Mohammed has just done a fantastic job. So Kenyan officials said they expect to start experiencing an influx of Al-Shabaab militants either escaping from Somali forces' assault or their own onslaughts. So neighboring Kenya is itself getting ready to intercept Al-Shabaab terrorists who are fleeing from Somalia, from the Somali National Army, from the Somali clan militias. So this just shows you how successful President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud, the Somali army is, and the local clan militias have been. And the hostile environment in Somalia, coupled with the dwindling funding gotten through Zakat, will push the militants towards Kenya through Mandera. So Kenya actually has a huge fear that these terrorists, which are being pushed out of Somalia, that they might come towards Kenya. Already, local residents have reported they have sighted unfamiliar people in their midst, and it is highly suspected that they could be Al Shabaab retainers. This is the truth because I had reports that an Al Shabaab middleman or uh, key, I wouldn't say big leaders. I would say middle leaders have been spotted as far as Zambia. So they are fleeing uh, as far as possible from Somali intelligence. Um, according, yeah, already locals have reported they attacked unfamiliar people in the Middle. According to security agents, residents in neighboring Somalia's Jubaland state say they have been suffering from criminal acts propagated by Al Shabaab. So basically, the Somali government has been very successful in wiping out Al Shabaab in central Somalia, such as Hiran, Middle Shabelle, and Galmudug. So, what's the next step that the Somali army is going to have to take is to push the war towards Bay and Barkal and then the Jubaland region. Then it's completely 100% game over to Al Shabaab. So I think the terrorists have started saying that the Somali army is preparing for a massive final push against them in Bay and Barkal and the Juba regions. So this is why many of them are already or have already started to flee from the country. And so yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. Good news is coming out from Somalia. you know, and it's just incredible, really. So I say God be praised because like people never really expected the Somali government to be so successful so quickly. This comes at a point where there's an arms embargo on the Somali government, so the Somali government can't even purchase the weapons it needs to combat Al Shabab. So they don't have much uh, to use to combat Al Shabab. So their hands are tied, and they're still making such fantastic gains against the terrorists. So yeah, absolutely brilliant news. Also, other news related to this is the Somali government has also been successful against a key spoiler known as Laftagram, whose term ends in a week's time. So basically, um, the Somali government wants to have free and open democratic elections in Southwest State. And we have a spoiler, a wannabe dictator who wants to stay indefinitely. So the Somali government has made it very, very clear that it believes in democracy, it believes in the rule of law, and elections must take place for uh, for a new leader. So that's also fantastic. And Ethiopia has supported the Somali government, and also the United States and Britain have also supported the Somali government in this push to have free and fair and credible elections in South State. So that's also a fantastic news for the Somali people. So a lot of things are going really well. So yeah, just amazing. So anyway, have a fantastic time, everyone, and I'll keep you updated with what's actually happening in Somalia. So take care and goodbye.